Hello everyone, this is the third in the series of using musical instruments during davening and for davening. And even though we have ancient traditions that not only put it into the temple, but put it into our service of God, it seems like in the 19th century, this became an issue. And indeed, some allowed, some were skeptical, and some didn't. We were within those that forbade it. And three more reasons today. Number one, it diverts your attention. Number two, none of the former generations did it. Number three, the slippery slope. Rabbi Yehuda Asad in his Shut Yehudaya Aleh says, when you use musical instruments, I can understand it, but during davening, why would you use it? Davening is not about just being happy-clappy, but rather getting your soul to sing, and it's a different sensation, which musical instruments cannot do. And then he adds the most important argument, because the first one you could say maybe it does help, and that is mebalbel da'at hamekavein. It absolutely mixes us up. We're trying to say the words, and all we hear are the instruments. And because there's no mitzvah to use it, it's better not to. Rav Chaim Palaji from the Sephardic world comes along and says exactly the same argument. And that is that David HaMelech and the Nevi'im, Kishayu Menagnim, Lo Hayu Ma'avdim Kavanatam, when they used musical instruments in the service of God, they were able to do two things at once: play the song and have kavana. But us, Mashein Ken Anachnu, we can't do it. And therefore, their basic argument is, if you use musical instruments, it ruins your kavana, it diverts your attention. We can, of course, agree or disagree in reality if that's the case, but that is their argument. Beyond it, reason number 5 is that we never saw the former generations do it. In general, we say, Lo ra'inu eina raya. The fact that we didn't see it is not a proof for anything. But Rav Chaim Palaji does say that in a very, very distinct way. Lo shamanu ve'lo ra'inu. We didn't see the Nevi'im do it. We didn't see Anshe Knesset Agdola tell us to do it. Not the Rishonim, not the Achronim, before them the Tanaim and the Amoraim, and finally the Mekubalim. Nobody ever said to use musical instruments. And therefore, who are you to come along and innovate something? Many, many rabbis and great people davened. It's not like it's a new thing. And none of them introduced musical instruments, even though they were always around. It looks strange to do it. And indeed, he adds that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the president when the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, made various different enactments to remember the temple, and he didn't enact this. So therefore, bottom line, we didn't see it. It shouldn't happen. And Rav Kook, of all people, agrees with that. She yesod mosadhu. This is a yesod. This is a foundation of Judaism. Shelo leshanot miminagei avotenu. Not to change the customs of former generations. Al kain, and therefore, from this perspective, it will lead to lo titgodedu. Namely, you'll have shuls with musical instruments, shuls without, some saying halal with, some without. That's not a good thing, and therefore he says it's better not to do it. Rather, every shul should daven and without musical instruments. The sixth and final argument in this regard is the famous argument called the slippery slope. And that is what Rav Aaron Wolkin says in Shut Zakan Aaron, Uveshagam kefi shara nisayon, potchim bechol, umesayim achar kach b'Shabbos. They're going to start playing musical instruments on a weekday, and then they'll do it on Shabbos, which is asur midirabanan, even if it's not using electricity. The Malamet Lahoil indeed continues this school of thought, and that is, im natira argal, if we allow the organ, then all the people that want to change Judaism will say, you see, the rabbis always say amen after everything we'll do, and they'll push and they'll push and they'll push, and we'll start hearing them say, why don't you go ahead and matir isurim, why don't you go ahead and make things that are forbidden allowed. From this perspective, the Melamed Lahoil ends this conversation and says, I sent my letter against it to 5 Rabbanim. 4 of them agreed with me. 1 didn't, because he said Rab Hildesheim already said no, and therefore Nimnu V'Gamru, that you are not allowed to use musical instruments even on a weekday. I must admit that, unlike last time, these arguments obviously have to be judged based on the reality out there. Does it divert attention? We can check. Maybe sometimes it adds to the elevation of davening and not diminishes from it. Just think of a person dancing on Simchas Torah versus a person at a wedding and decide where are they more spiritually connected. Regarding we didn't see it is a very weak argument because many things we didn't see in the former generations, and we did it now because now this is what it's called for. And I can give many, many examples, but I'll just give one. Moshe Rabbeinu made a cherem on all the cities that he captured, saying you're not allowed to take from the booty of war. Yoshua did the same. A terrible tragedy happened in Ai. And the Gemara says in the Sechet Sanhedrin, it's your fault. The Maharsha, because you made a cherem and one person took from it. The Maharsha says, but he continued the tradition of his Rebbe Moshe. Maharsha answers, but when Moshe did it, there wasn't yet the law of Kol Yisrael Arevin Ze Lazeh, which means all the Jewish people are guarantors to each other. So one person sins, that person gets punished, not everyone else. But once there is such a law, it's better not to make a cherem. So just continuing what past generations did blindly is not always the answer, because realities change. The reality of Moshe is different than the reality of Yehoshua. Just like the reality of Avraham, who during a famine went down to Egypt, is different from the reality of Yitzchak, who God told, don't go down to Egypt because you were put on the Mizbeach and you're not allowed to leave Israel. Your father Avraham was not, so he's allowed to, as was Yaakov, your son. And finally, the slippery slope. That's an argument that we can use for anything out there. And I must admit that you have to judge if indeed every single change will lead towards things that are usher, or maybe quite the contrary. Changes might lead to more Yirat Shamayim, to more fear of heaven, to more Kiyum Mitzvos. And therefore, unlike the last time where we spoke about Isurim like Ubechukotehem lo telechu, following our Pikorsim, and mourning for the big temple and our small temples, these arguments have to be, of course, judged in our generation. God willing, next time, we'll see those that allow using musical instruments in shul and understand their point of view.